We live in an age where we have more literature around us than there have ever been. Think about it, when was the last time you picked up a book? Now, some of you might not have picked up a book the last time. You might have an e-book. Equally, you may not have an e-book and you have your phone. How often do you look at your phone and read? How often do you go through social media and read what other people are saying and being able to deduce what they are saying without saying it? Think about if someone sends you an emoticon. Do you understand the context of what they're saying through text alone? If you don't read books, this is a bit of a plug, but go to your local library. Libraries are fantastic. Actually, I went there today. Reading definitely is important, which is why I also go to the library. Libraries are also important, so please just go and pick up a book. What I'd really want to recommend is Heck by Xander Cannon, about a guy who stumbles across hell and is able to help people by going after their loved ones through the 7 layers. So a really good postmodern take on Dante. But anyway, I'm going to return his book. Just to get a little bit meta here, a fantastic book is Sex Criminals. It's a small graphic novel that actually is about people who, when they orgasm, they can stop time. But they do it to save a library. What, they don't teach you that in school, and that's why you are watching me now. You want to know the things the school don't teach you. I don't know why you'd want to know. That's none of my concern. Why is reading important? And it definitely is a question that we need to consider for those who study literature and those who want to get into literature. You have to understand what the purpose of it is. So rather than getting into the intricacies of literature, I also like to think, why do you listen to music? There's no inherent value for you to listen to music. It's not something you have to do. There are people in other countries who won't listen to the same music as you. However, does that mean they are less adept than you are at listening to music? Does it matter the type of music that you listen to? If you're to listen to metal, pop, EDM, hip-hop, grime, jazz, what does that say about you as a character? Or does it say anything at all? Literatures work in the same way in this sense, is that it doesn't matter what you read or how you read, it's the fact that reading, similar to listening to music, has a reaction with us. Now, what is that reaction? Now, we may read the same book. For example, let's take Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. Now, this book won the Man Booker Prize, and it is a beautiful, beautiful book. Now, it's not as beautiful as her Centre Parting, but oh, that is the main reason why she won that Man Booker Prize. Wee! You and I can both read this book to understand about Thomas Cromwell and how he's going to succeed through the courts of Henry VIII in the 16th century. What will we gain from that? Now, one argument is that we're looking for information. However, if I actually type in Thomas Cromwell, now, I could read that as non-fiction, which will take less time than me reading a 600-page book on it, based on someone's interpretation of those facts. This is my school of thought, that literature isn't actually about entertainment. Now, obviously, we can use it as entertainment, and we can use it as a cathartic means of escapism, and to get involved in those characters. But I'm not actually that bothered about what the authors actually put into it. Me being quite a postmodernist, I actually do believe in the death of the author, and that what the author says is completely irrelevant, and that I don't really care what Hilary Mantel writes in this book, it's meaningless to me. Equally, happily, what you have to write about 1930s America, I don't care. Jeanette Winterson's Written on a Body, talking about how a man who has no determined gender or sex is able to express himself in society. I don't particularly care. A Scanner Darkly by Philip K. Dick, a beautiful representation of drug use and psychosis. I'm gonna ask, do I really care about this though? No. Do I care about Umberto Eco's Name of the Rose and how a Sherlock Holmes-esque monk in 1327 discovers the murders of several monks? No. Do I care about this beautiful binding? Yes I do! That's why I'm going to place it down in front of me. George Saunders' Lincoln and Bardo, which won the most recent Man Booker Prize. Do I care about how Lincoln deals with the death of his son and how ghosts speak to his dead son in order to get him through to the afterlife? No, because it was shit. It wasn't a great book. They were better books shortlisted. Again, I do believe the author is dead, and in another video I'm going to discuss what the death of the author means in regards to Roland Barthes and how authorial intent is not something that we should really read into. Schools 100% push the authors definitely are telling us that when he's writing that the curtains are blue, it means his depression. No, it does not. No, it does not. As someone who writes, what I write and what I want you to obtain with it are two different complete beings. So, if it's not about the authorial intent of what the book's talking about, because if I'm... So, okay, it's not about information, it's not about learning anything, but equally it's not about what the author's telling me. So, what is reading? Why is that important? It's not about reading to obtain information. It's me being able to get into the author's head and understanding more about the character that they're writing about. Trust me, authors don't care if you like their works or not. What they care is about the ideas that are getting pushed forward. This is why there is no ideal literature. It doesn't matter if you're reading The Name of the Rose, a quite hard academic piece. It doesn't matter if you're reading something like, what have we got here? S.J. Trott, a children's book. It doesn't matter if you're reading some philosophy such as Slavoj Žižek's Trouble in Paradise. It doesn't matter about any of that. Equally, you could read graphic novels. You could read slash fiction. You could read My Immortal, the really, really bad fan fiction. So good. It's so bad that it's good. But that's what reading is about. It's about not my ideas. You shouldn't care about my ideas. You should care about your ideas when you're reading. Yes, you might have gone to an English class and realised that what the teacher is saying doesn't really make sense to you, and to me, challenge that. Challenge what someone says to you. If they believe that by reading something they take one route, challenge them on it, rebut and concede against that point. That is the purpose of art, that is the purpose of writing. This principle is at 100% with literature as well. Look at the news, look how politicians are speaking, read fake news. What are they trying to say? Do you 100% agree that if you inject bread with HIV you will get it? No. Because that's not how it works. Reading is actually a hard task, and by reading more you'll be able to open yourself up to techniques that the authors use in order to persuade you to their thinking or to challenge your thinking in some way. Handed in all the books, and yeah, I'm in a bit of a graphic novel obsession at the moment. So we got Stray Bullets, Volume 1. Sanctum, this is on the library's to read in the graphic novel section. No idea what it's about, but that's the best things about libraries. It's about going in and being susceptible to pick up a book that would interest you. I know a lot of us who do read, all those who want to start reading kind of go with what's quite obvious. So, you know, the Harry Potters, the Twilight, and there's nothing wrong with reading those at all. However, I feel as though being able to be open to read someone else's perspective, being able to read someone else's opinion, how they articulate, how they are able to manipulate words in order to express thoughts. I think that's what's most important in a book. The critic Thomas says that reading is actually quite a hard task to take, but it's interesting for us to form artificial families. And through these artificial families that we find in such books such as S.J. Trott, we can actually understand the intricacies of how an author is using irony, satire, paradox, metaphor in order to persuade themselves. Reading therefore has quite an active approach. For me to be able to understand a character's perspective actually enables me to live lives that I've never lived. Again, I'm never going to live in 1327 and be a monk. But equally, I'm not going to become... Equally, I'm never going to live the life of Lord Byron's Don Juan, a Lothario at that. I'm definitely not going to be there. Philip Levine also has a fantastic poem called The Horse, and he's talking about how people deal with something horrific, which is the Hiroshima bombings and Nagasaki bombings. I don't know how I feel in that scenario. And think about this now, you probably haven't lived through that. I'm also going to assume the large majority don't know anyone who suffered in the Nagasaki bombings. But take a step back, how would you feel in that case? Obviously, if I do so, I would feel angry, I would feel upset. But how do I word that? I'm going to read an extract from The Horse, so let's try and figure this out. They spoke of the horse alive, without skin, naked, hairless, without eyes and ears, searching for the stable boy's caress. Shoot it, someone said, but they let him go on, collided with the tattered walls, butting his long skull to pulp, finding no path where iron fences corkscrewed in the street and bicycles turned like question marks. Some fled and some sat down. The river burned all day and into the night. The stones sighed a moment and were still, and the shadow of a man's left hand entered a leaf. The white horse never returned, and later they found the stable boy, his back crushed by a hoof, his mouth opened around a cry that no one heard. They spoke of the horse again and again, their mouths opened like gills of a fish caught above the water. What's that got to do with the Hiroshima bombings? I don't know. You have to question those yourself. And that is the beauty about literature. Think about it. What does that horse represent? For me, a horse is quite beautiful, it's majestic, but then Levine is juxtaposing. Juxtapose is just a fancy term for contrast. Juxtaposing that beautiful idea of an elegant horse that has no skin, that is butting its head to a pulp. We feel almost grotesque about it, and we also have this morbid idea that no one wants to help it. They tell someone to shoot the horse, but no one does. And what does that leave? It leaves the horse, this battered, this decrepit, dead being, to kill the stable boy. The horse who wanted someone to hold and caress him, which would be the stable boy normally, is killed. Yet we do not hear his scream. We do not hear that impact. We see the aftermath. We know what happens before and we know what happens after. But that middle section where the action takes place, Levine is removing. Why is he doing that? I don't know. But do you know? And if you don't know, why don't you know? Is it because you don't want to know? Is it because you can't fathom it? What I want you to do is comment down below, what do you think that horse represents? And if you see someone else commented and you have an idea that you think challenges them, please go down. Have that argument. This is the beautiful thing about why we should read. This is the beautiful thing about literature, is that reading is able to broaden your mind in that sense. Within the next video, I actually want to discuss why we should read analytically. Why should we look at the intricacies? Why is it when your teacher tells you that you should read this line in X, Y, and Z way? Is that important? What is the objective of us doing that? Is being critical in our reading a hindrance, or does it open us to more ideas? We're going to have a look at both of those arguments. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and if you have any questions, please put them down below. Please comment as well. If you have any questions, I would love to get a little bit of a forum going down below. So yeah, next we're going to have a look at reading critically. Have a good day.